Hello, my lovely grade 8s. I won't be at school today, so I've left some work for you to do. Um, I'm introducing a booklet. I've told you about this in a previous lesson on flower beds, which sounds very exciting, doesn't it? Now, here's the task that you'll have to do, but you'll receive yours obviously in a booklet, and it will involve doing some drawing and some using of Excel spreadsheets and so on. But today, you probably don't even need Excel to start with. Depends on how far you get. So let's have a look at the task so that you know what to do. Now, in the booklet, it does start by saying you will work in groups to solve the famous flower beds problem. Famous. Um, yeah, you probably never heard of it before. But anyway, so it is a pretty common problem. But the working groups part is, well, we won't work in groups formally. You can just work within your table, whoever you're sitting next to, really. And what it really means is that you're welcome to, collaborate. You're welcome to sort of like, if you're not too sure what to do, ask the person next to you and sort of try and figure out things together. And there's no dramas with doing that. But apart from that, it's basically you with a booklet. But you certainly don't have to work in silence, and you can certainly talk to the people around you. So there's no dramas with that. But of course, make sure that as you do collaborate, that you're not just copying off someone, that you do know what's going on. And if you don't, spend some time trying to think about it and get people to explain it to you if you're not too sure. That kind of thing. Okay, so here's the booklet. There's the you can read through it yourself, but basically it's all about looking at patterns. So you've got to look at, say, for example, these black hexagons here, and these are like flower beds, small flower beds, and the council has decided that they want these lovely little flower beds, but they want to surround the flower beds with some paving stones, and that's what these white hexagons are for. So what you need to do is to work out how many paving stones the council will need for a certain number of flower beds. Now here it says 100, but basically if we can find the pattern, if we can find what matches up flower beds to paving stones, then it doesn't matter if there were 10 flower beds or 1,000. We could do that. That's the good thing about finding functions or rules. So, and it depends on the arrangement of the flower pots and the paving stones as well. So we're calling these arrangements. So in arrangement 1, this is what the bed needs to look like. Now if I just move over to the other page, just follow the cursor. Here we go. Here we go. Here's arrangement 3. That was clever of me, wasn't it? Okay, and then if I scroll up, yep, there's arrangement 2. So we're going to be finding patterns based upon these. Now, I just want to highlight a few things before I let you go do your work. So when attempting this problem, you're advised to try some simple cases first. This is a really powerful method to do when you're trying to find patterns in things. So rather than looking at that and saying, oh, I don't know what the pattern is, what we do is we attempt a simpler problem. So we look at, well, what happens if there are 0 flower beds? How many tiles will we need? Or paving stones, sorry. And then what happens if I have 1 flower bed? How many paving stones will I need? What about 2 flower beds? How many paving stones would I need for 2 flower beds? And so on. So you can do that by, I reckon, it does say, I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can do this, but I reckon based upon the stuff that we've been doing in class already, do that. Draw up a table. The independent variable would be what? The number of flower beds or the number of paving stones? So once you work that out, you can go for 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously negative numbers don't really matter or don't make sense. And then what would the dependent variable be? The number of paving stones or the number of flower beds? Once you've worked that out, then figure out the numbers based upon the independent variable. So once you've got a table of values, you can then find the number pattern like we've been doing in class. And then from the number pattern you can work out the rule, and from the rule or the function you can then solve problems and graph it and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically what you need to do to start with. For each arrangement, work out the function or the rule for working out the information that you need. And then for questions 1, 2 and 3, you need to really just answer these 3 questions for each of the, or these 3 parts to each question. So find the formula, or find the function, formula, function, rule, all the same kind of word. Explain why the formula works. That's a pretty tricky one to get right in terms of your communication criterion. Trying to explain clearly why the formula works is really important. Says here, using diagrams is bound to help, so use a diagram because it's, bound to help. And then part C is if we've got the paving stones, how many flower beds could we create? So it's kind of looking at the reverse problem. Instead of saying how many paving stones do we need for 100 flower beds, we're going the other way around. We're saying, well, we know how many paving stones we've got, how many flower beds can we make? So that's basically it. So you do all 3 parts for arrangement 1, and then you repeat that for arrangement 2 and arrangement 3. And then question 4 is when we get onto the spreadsheet work. So I reckon doing questions 1, 2, and 3 are probably enough for today. But regardless, if you get to question 4, look, we've done enough spreadsheet work now that you should be okay. And even if you're not quite sure, if you set up the structure of the spreadsheet and then have a go from, at least do this much without the formulas, when I return on Friday, we can have a look at the formulas together. And look, there's going to be plenty of people in the class that probably can help you out with the formulas too if you aren't sure. So there you go, and then there's more there, question 5, and then there's another problem, House of Cards, as well to do. So you're going to have 3 lessons, maybe with a 4th catch-up lesson next Friday after the test if necessary. But I reckon you will need to do some of this work for homework to make sure you do complete it. And I haven't given you a homework assignment apart from this, so I don't think that's too much of a hard ask. I should be around my email all day today, so if you have any questions or it doesn't make sense, please just ask via Google Classroom, and I will do my best to answer them if I can. One last thing, and then I promise I'll shut up. Look, if all else fails and you can't access the booklets, or someone says they can't find them, or whatever else, I will attach this document to a post in Google Classroom, so you'll have that. But if all else fails, do exercise 9C from your textbook, and that should take the rest of the lesson if necessary, I think. Failing that, if you finished exercise 9C, then I think there's an enrichment activity at the end of exercise 9C that you can have a go at. Okay, so hopefully that's all you need to know, and do stay in touch if you have any questions, because I should be able to answer them as we go along. Okay, thanks. Bye.